Welcome. My name is Linda Leland. I am the co-founder of And Then She Shines and creator of Food Rules, Diets, and Love and the Eat Like You Love Yourself Academy. I am so excited to be here with Reverend Cathy Silva, who is a minister, an author, a spiritual and relationship counselor and coach. She's also with us inside the Eat Like You Love Yourself Academy. And every time I talk to you, Cathy, like I literally have to bust out a pen and paper because I want to write everything that you say down. And I really wanted to bring an aspect into the academy and just into the world, a little bit more teaching on unconditional self-love and acceptance. And I knew you were someone I wanted to talk to about this. So thank you so much for being here. Because this is such a huge topic and so needed in our time right now. So I thought we'd just start talking a little bit about what that even is, what unconditional self-love and acceptance means to us and what it looks like. I think, the word love gets tossed around this world so often. I love pizza, I love BMWs, I love Shih Tzus, and I think it really gets diluted. I know when I was new on my spiritual path, I remember just like laying in the grass, looking up at the sky, thinking, I don't even really know what love is. I was being taught that it's what created me and is who I am, and it heals everything. But, in the world, I think we get all caught up in the Hallmark version of love. Self-love is, pedicures and manicures and hot baths and affirmations, and those things are really nice, but it still wasn't giving me what I needed to know about love and to know about self-love and about loving other people. So for me, and what I've come to know is how I can open this up and talk about love. I think there's kind of two aspects of it for me. So there's the big L love. There's this love this force that created us. We can call it universal intelligence or God or life's perfection, source. It's that big guide that connects us all to each other. And it's always calling us forward, every one of us, everyone you see, even the people that upset you, is always calling every one of us forward to our highest selves. It's always there. We don't have to call it in. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to do something to deserve it. It's just always there calling us forward. So that to me is first part. So what unconditional self-love and acceptance is to me, or radical self-love to me is that's my part. Those are like the thoughts and the behaviors that align me with that big L love, that align all of us with it. That part's, and like you and I talked about before, it's more of undoing all the things that keep us out of alignment, really, because we are aligned. We just need to remove the blocks to the awareness of the presence of this love. Yeah. And I think was the way of mastery, the best definition I've heard of what love is it said love accepts all things, love embraces all things, and love transcends all things. And anything else is just sort of an imposter. It's not real love. So, and this has been such a huge journey for me. It's been the biggest and most important journey I've ever been on. And I think why I've been able to help people the way that I have heal their relationships with food and their body, because it all starts with acceptance, embracing, and then transcendence. To learn to accept ourselves right now, not wait for anything to change. And embracing those parts of us that are so hard to love. Seeing them as knowing that this universal love is real, it's there, that it's always guiding us to our highest potential. All the things that are hard for us to love are here for our expansion, are here to show us where more love is needed in us. And in that way, we can embrace anything that's happening to us if we choose to see it as part of this universal guidance. And love does fix everything. It does transcend everything. It would fix all of our world problems, any issues that we have. Love is the quickest way to change any problem. Being on a spiritual path, and so many of us are on the spiritual journey, but if our spiritual journey does not include us unconditionally loving ourselves and loving other people, it's not a spiritual journey as far as I'm concerned. So, once we learn to love ourselves, all these things that we've been trying so hard to change about ourselves, to make ourselves more lovable, right themselves. Just love makes really good decisions. That's really our only job. Once we can really love ourselves, the rest is none of our business. The rest, now we're in alignment with a bigger force that's so powerful and always has everyone's best interest in mind. So to start to live that way, to help remind each other that this is what we came for, is one of my greatest passions, and I know it's one of yours too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'd love to hear maybe if you want to introduce yourself again, or your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, wow, Linda. that was an awesome riff.
And we've only just begun.
Woo! Oh my gosh, yeah, so much there. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I really am. Really, this has been my journey. Since, for a very long time, I've been on this, self-discovery journey. And what I realized along the way is the things that I wanted to discover about myself was the love that I am. It's my true self with a capital S. And that's, it's my expression of love. It's the extension. It's how I extend naturally. You said something in our conversation before that said that love just loves naturally. And I've heard it said before, and I believe that with all of my heart. I mean, it's just amazing how love just does what love does. And we are love. We are love. And it is all of that. It's the presence. It's what connects us. It's eternal. It's the eternal love. It's always present, ever present, all loving and nothing else. And everything else, we search for this imposter love. And we look for ways to fix ourselves and to help us feel better about ourselves, to help us feel more loved. And we're looking for love in all the wrong places. I did that for years. I looked outside of myself to see, to just get acceptance from everybody around me. And it just always fell short. And that's what happens, is it always falls short.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and I think that, when we don't, because what you just said was so perfect, because when we are not loving ourselves, we're always chasing people and situations that don't love us either to find this. And,
well, they're looking for the love too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really blew my mind when I learned, or I really sit with this. And maybe you've heard me say this, but I had a great teacher tell me once, you can't get love from another. I was like, what? I've been looking for this.
Amen.
Looking for this forever. But, I could just sit here, Cathy, and just with all my heart, love you. Just love you with all my heart. And for 5 minutes, just look into your eyes here on the screen and just love you. But what you're going to feel from that is based on You might be thinking, you don't really love me, or it's based on your own experience, based on your own perception. Like the love that we're after, that high that we get when we feel in love with somebody or with something, or we hold a baby or a puppy, is what's coming through us. Love comes through us. That's that feeling that we're always chasing. And we don't need anybody else to get it, to fall in love everywhere we go, with every person we meet, to get that feeling that we're looking for that actually was coming out of us at the time.
Yeah. And you know what else I've discovered is that as I give love, I extend love, I experience more love.
Exactly.
So it's the giving and the receiving are the same. And it just like grows in my awareness as I extend it without expectation. That's the unconditional part.
Love that.
The key is just to extend love. I think that's why we're here. We're here to love. We're here to love and be loved because that's what we want. I think every single person wants to love and be loved. And we're here to love, and all we have to do, according to the introduction to A Course in Miracles says we don't have to learn about love. It's not about learning about it. It's not about understanding it necessarily. It's all about removing the blocks, like you said, to the awareness of love's presence. Because that's always there. It's like constant. And it's within us. Jesus says in the Bible, the kingdom is within you.
The kingdom of heaven is within us.
The love is within you.
Yeah.
It is us. It is our true identity. And
everything so unlike it feels so uncomfortable. Because that's who we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So what for me, I've been thinking about this, and what it comes down to is our perception and our experience. So it's our perception of ourselves and our experience of ourselves. And what we perceive in ourselves or judge in ourselves, we will be mirrored back to us.
Amen.
Yeah. And you and I talked about the body. So a lot of your community is about loving your body, is about embracing your body, love and acceptance of your body, the way that it is, right, as it is. And where I've discovered that we need to focus is on our perception of our body, because we're looking at our body as something that needs to be fixed. There's something wrong with it. But what that's coming from is our idea of who we are, of our identity.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're projecting that out. So we're looking in the mirror and we're seeing according to what this limited idea of ourselves is. And we're looking at it as, I'm not enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not fat enough, I'm not, I'm not good enough. All of these terrible things that we identify ourselves as, that we say to ourselves, often in secret, but which is why we have to become aware of them. And just observe, like, what am I saying to myself? How am I saying this? How am I communicating my perception without, with being unconscious about it? So, and when we are able to just recognize that we don't want to feel that way anymore, that was key for me. And
I want you to say that again, because that is so important. I love that.
Yeah. We have to make a decision. We have to draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, everybody has a breaking point. And when you hit that breaking point of like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to see myself this way. I recognized that with my husband, in my relationship with my husband. And I noticed some of the thoughts because I was really practicing, and I still practice watching my thoughts, you know, watching, just observing like the things that I think. And all of a sudden I'm like, I don't want to think this way about my husband. So I'm going to just step back and let it go. And I'm going to look at him in the way as he truly is.
Mm.
So we can do the same thing for ourselves and for our body. Anything that seems to be outside of ourselves, we can do the same thing. We can just say, you know what? I want to love my body. I want to love everything as it is. And I want to see it as it, I want to see myself as I truly am. I don't want to focus on all of these flaws anymore and all of these things that I think are wrong, because I don't really know that they're wrong. How do I know? I mean, you've talked about how in different societies, even different sizes bodies are acceptable, and some are, and they're not acceptable in other societies or whatever. So it's very, it changes.
Shows the illusion of all of it. You know, it's good if you look this way in this culture. It's good if you look that way in another culture. Like, wait, who made this stuff up?
Exactly. And it's all
making it up wherever we go.
Yeah. Made up BS.
It is. So is. And, you know, as far as the body piece, I mean, I think with everything too, we have to have compassion for how deeply we've been conditioned, especially as women. I mean, you know, in the makeup industry and the plastic surgery industry and the diet industry, it's big money to come on and tell us we should be different. We need to be different. We need to buy this product or use this product so that we're different. And we've been hearing these for so long. And, you know, this compassion that you were just talking about, and having compassion for that, but to love ourselves now, I think part of it just comes from, you know, just that inner critic. Just to kind of notice it when it comes up and just say, I thought I created you. I thought I needed you to make me better. Yeah. But you're fired. Because it's really, on the contrary, it really keeps us tormented and off balance and sleepwalking. And like you said, when that's how we see ourselves, that becomes our experience, becomes very real. The world mirrors back that critic to us. And, you know, I'm sorry, I'll get back to you in a second, but, you know, I was thinking about, you know, back when I had such self-shame about so many things about myself, everything actually. But, you know, my husband at the time, my first husband, really was a mirror. I mean, he, at the time, it appeared that he wanted everything about me to be so different. It was really difficult relationship, but and then once you do start to really cultivate a self-love for yourself, the people, your world is peopled with different people. It changes. The people who show up changes, and if they don't, you don't notice it anymore. You just don't vibrate there anymore.
Yeah. But, so I think it's that, like, I think I heard you say that he was mirroring back to you what you were believing.
Absolutely.
So what that does is it raises it in our awareness. So we start to notice it until it gets too hard, until we say, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah.
So in that way, he's doing that for you.
Absolutely.
So he was a gift for you. He was playing his role perfectly in your life to show you what you were thinking about yourself.
I totally.
And when you stop thinking that way about yourself and you start looking at yourself lovingly, you don't need that anymore.
Thank God.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
knew I was the problem. I knew I was the problem. And if I didn't change, I'd find another mirroring back to me the same exact thoughts and beliefs. And that's
yeah,
power. Just to know that is power.
absolutely. Oh, because it puts the control and the power back in our core,
Exactly.
back where it belongs in our own minds, because everything, our experience is coming from what is happening in our own minds. And going back to having compassion for ourselves, like for even for even falling into those ideas, for having those ideas. So I think we can have some compassion and patience and forgiveness for ourselves and everything that we thought, and realizing that we inherited all of that. It was unconscious patterns and beliefs that were formed. Some say even before we were born, we came into the world with these lessons that we needed to learn, and these ways of thinking.
I believe
That it's from the womb, maybe, I don't know. But if you can really look at some of the limited beliefs and the patterns that came from our parents and the people that raised us and society and all of that, but they're just doing what they were taught. And it goes back and back and back and back, and it keeps repeating itself until one of us, and it only takes one,
I love that.
to just say, wait a minute, something's not right. Something's rotten in Denmark.
Rotten in Denmark.
No, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then we start to question those thoughts and those beliefs and those patterns. We start to question it. And that's when we can just, as we question it, we can let it go. It's no longer the truth that runs us. It's no longer our reality. We can just let those go. And then what that does is it just naturally makes room for us to be who we truly are, which is love. We can't help but be, we are. I mean, we can't help it. It just comes naturally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our blocks, our only blocks to this love is our own thoughts of judgment.
Yes.
It's a learned habit pattern of thought. And I was so excited when I learned this, because that I knew I could unlearn it.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you don't have to learn love. You just unlearn all the criticisms and the self-judgment. And I say this all the time in the Eat Like You Love Yourself Academy, but I have never, ever met a woman who truly loved herself, who had a disordered relationship with food or her body, no matter what her size, or in relationship. I don't know. It's just amazing to witness, to start to witness what that looks like, and watch other women come into that for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what we came to remember, our magnificence. That's why we're here. We are never going to lie on our deathbed and say, I wish my body had been different, or we're going to wish we showed up fully. And what keeps us from showing up fully is the shame, I think, and the guilt that comes from our own self-judgment. I always love telling my little grapefruit story, but it was one of the greatest turning points. Have you ever heard my grapefruit story?
I don't think so.
One of my greatest turning points. I was in school for energy medicine, and the teacher, there were about 50 of us in the class. He had us do an experiment on hugging before we went to lunch. So we all had to hug each other, and we had to be fully present. Like, we would not just give a hug, but feel what the hug was like from others.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was awesome. You can only imagine 50 people walking around hugging themselves, right? So then we go to lunch. We came back. He says, okay, I want you to do it again. So we did it again. And then he said, okay, anybody with a secret, come to the front of the room. I didn't know what he meant. Apparently, about 15 people in the crowd, he asked them to take a grapefruit and hide it somewhere on their person and not let anybody in the experiment know that they had it during the hugging experiment.
Mm.
So when he asked us, how was it hugging? How was the experiment with you? How was it hugging everybody? And I would say, oh, when I hugged Mary, she was so maternal, and I just felt her energy. I just felt her love, and Ed was just a strong, solid, grounded hug, and we could talk about what it was like for us. But the people with the grapefruits, they asked them, what was that hugging experience like for you? And they said, I really don't remember who I hugged. Never mind what it was like. I was so intent on hiding this grapefruit like you told me to, not letting them see it, that I couldn't really even be there or feel it or be present or feel any of the love or the energy that was around me or give it for that matter. And for me, I was just like all the times I've walked into a room wanting to hide parts of myself that I was judging, that I was critical about, really kept me from showing up and doing that and extending love and really being present with people. It just totally blew my mind. And I would kind of, after that point, really shore up my own thoughts before entering a room. Those, it used to happen to me a lot more than it does now, but, going out with a bunch of people, I was so worried about how everybody would see me when I was so full of guilt and shame. How I looked, how I spoke, how I presented myself. I was just, this little chatter. And, so many times I wasn't even really there.
Mm.
So
What a powerful story, Linda. Oh my gosh, that is just so incredibly powerful. Because, I mean, that comes between all of our relationships.
all of them.
Because our focus is on making the effort to hide.
But we don't even intentionally do it, but
No,
yeah.
we don't intentionally do it. That's the thing is, and I firmly believe that we all are doing the best that we can with the awareness that we have, and we all just want to feel safe. Yeah. And the reason that we hide is because we think that that's making us safe.
Yes.
And we need to feel safe.
You're so right. And like I said, beating ourselves into something that we're not, or that inner critic that we thought was going to somehow make us better, really robs us from a feeling of safety, Safety. It robs us from a full life.
Yeah. You know what just occurred to me when you said that, making ourselves into something that we're not. So when we do that, when we make that identity, we force it. And oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I have my phone's not on mute, and it just went into my. I got this. So it goes. Like we have to defend it. When we make up that identity, we have to defend it. We've got to, we're so invested in it because we think that that's how we should be.
Yeah.
And that causes the separation. That causes the, feeling like we have to defend and this idea of ourselves. And it's not based on truth.
No, and it's so freeing, like you said, to just know that that's not what you want anymore.
Yeah.
And, and we are loved and guided by this universe, by God. It's simply just saying, I want to love myself more. I think that the universe does show up and helps show us ways to do that. And it shows us ways which we're not doing that.
Yes.
I mean, in coaching a lot of people who really want to, and I'm sure you can say the same, in myself included, who really want to love themselves more, and then the shit hits the fan. All this stuff comes to the surface, and I used to love to say, well, what did you think? It was going to get licked off by kittens? Like, it's gonna come up. It's ugly. We need to see what it is and learn to stop valuing that incessant voice that's just been played on repeat, what makes us truly, truly sleepwalking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many days I've just sleptwalked, sleepwalking, trying to hide those grapefruits that, and all anybody else wants from us is to be loved and to be seen and noticed. We think they care about every little detail. We think we have to be a certain way in order to be loved. We're so afraid to be vulnerable, when that vulnerability is what we love most in others. You know, when someone walks through your door
Yeah.
and they're vulnerable and they're authentic and they're imperfect and they're just comfortable, that there's nothing better to be around. It's just
Yeah.
we get that when it comes to our own selves.
I think it's what makes life interesting.
Yes.
And exciting. And I mean, it's just, I just went to Curacao with my husband, and I was sitting by the pool, and I just happened to notice, I'm looking around, and I happen to notice how many different shapes, different types and shapes of bodies there are. And then I was talking to a new friend that I made, and we, of course, started talking about this, about body image. And she actually had a friend who was struggling with this, who I sent your way, by the way. So she might be calling you. I was telling her about my fabulous friend, Linda Leland, who specializes in this very thing. And so we started talking about that. And I said, it's really cool how there's all of these different shaped bodies. I mean, how boring would it be if every single body was exactly the same?
Very. I compared it to like dog breeds. Imagine if they were all greyhounds or they were all golden retrievers. Like,
yeah,
they're all so, there's just so many types of us, expressions of artwork that we are.
Yeah. So actually observing that and allowing myself to just be really, wow, that it really makes things interesting. That's wonderful. That helped me to let go of any ideas that I had about my body that it needed to be a certain way. Because I'm like, okay, my body's an interesting shape too. It's just
all of ours.
Yeah. It's just all of us have, yeah, we're just a little bit, yeah, it's just really interesting. Yeah.
You know, and what's so interesting to me and so clear to me now, you know, there are some people who have bodies bigger or smaller or whatever than they'd like them to be, but the conundrum, the silliness of it all, you know, is generally we're very young when we start to dislike our bodies, and then we try to diet or do different things. We stop listening to our bodies to fix it, and that's what causes us to even get more out of touch with our bodies and with our own sort of sweet spot with food, which we all have, that'll bring us all to our perfect healthy weight, not the weight of the weight chart, but your own perfect healthy weight, the one that you need to come in here to this world and do what you need to do. But it all starts from this not knowing who we are and wanting to be like the person next door or wanting to be like somebody else. And then we just get so far, even more far removed from loving who we are. It just keeps going and going. And the simplicity of this work really is, and so many women say to me, it can't be that easy. But you start to love yourself, and then you let yourself be changed by that.
Yes.
Okay? Like, when you're eating because you love yourself, it's a whole different game.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to the gym because you love your body versus because you hate your body, a whole different game, different experience, different results. Um, just, our number one goal when we wake up in the morning is, how can I best love myself today? And as I said, let that love change all the outer stuff. It will. It does it naturally. It has to. It's cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
We're so busy waking up and thinking, looking to the world to make us feel worthy or beautiful or okay or safe. But it's an inside job, and it trickles out into every single thing we do in every aspect of our life. And it's just beautiful. It's the most important work that we came here for.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it just occurred to me too that it's also very powerful and necessary to return to the awareness of oneness,
Totally.
that that we're all connected. We're all in this together. Um, there is no one against me.
Absolutely. We are all connected. We are all one. And how we see that reflection of us, that other part of us, that other person, tells
Mhm.
us so much about how we see ourselves.
Yeah.
All the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Um,
So, one of the things we talked about in our conversation that I had said something that you wanted to touch on, and that was the cause and effect.
mm,
So, the body is not the cause, it's the effect. And since our conversation, I've been thinking even more about that.
I loved what you said about that. So if you could share it with us a little bit more.
Yeah. So the body is, and anything outside of ourselves, actually, but the body is an effect of how we're seeing and how we're being. And it's actually our perception of our body, our experience of our body is the effect of what we're thinking, what we're believing about ourselves, if we're being ourselves. It's our experience of that. And I told you about how an example of that is when I was in Curacao in our hotel room, there was this mirror that took up, it was right across from the bathroom door, and it was a big bathroom opening door, and it almost covered the whole wall. I mean, it was big. So I got a full-fledged, full-on shot of my
Hello. Yeah.
body every morning, and every time I would get undressed, and I'm really cognizant of, sometimes I would look at that reflection and I would catch myself going, oh, oh, I need to work out more. I need to do this. I need to do that. And I would, because I'm conscious of that, and I think it's really important that we not, I don't position myself as somebody who's arrived and who's fully awoke. I'm not. I'm still on the journey as well. So I still have these thoughts, but the difference is that I notice them and I know what to do with them. I know what they're for. And I realized, oh, okay, I don't want to see my body that way. And And so I would just step back and I would do whatever it was to get back into my joy, into the alignment with who I truly am. And then I mean, I have so many opportunities every single day, as all of us do, to just express and to extend love. And I was doing it with so many of the people of Curacao are just, I just met up with so many loving people, and they were just amazing. And that's what happens when you extend love. You give what you get what you give.
Totally.
So I experienced that. So as soon as I was able to shift my mind and just be who I was, I looked at my reflection again and I saw beauty. It was amazing. I was just like appreciating all of the things that I thought were wrong in my wrong mind it was just beautiful.
Can you tell us what exactly, how you shifted your mind? What were your thoughts before, and what, if you'd be so kind, and how did you make that shift to where you first felt a little self-critical and then saw nothing but beauty?
Yeah, so the first thing was to recognize what I'm thinking about myself, all of those judgments. And then what I do is I look at it and I recognize that's not true. That's not aligned with the truth of who I am. And besides, it feels really icky. I mean, it just doesn't feel good.
That's reason enough right there. Yeah.
That's reason enough. And so I just decide that I don't want to look at myself that way. And so in my mind, I just step back from those beliefs and I let them go. I just let them go because they're not true. It's not a true reflection of who I am and the love that I am and the love that I'm extending. And if anything, it's just getting in the way. It's getting in the way of the thing that I want to do, the thing that I'm called to do, to extend love and to express love and to express just full expression of who I am. It gets in the way. So I don't want anything to get in the way of that. So I just step back and I let it go. And then I, kind of like what you said, I just say, I want to see myself differently. I want to see myself as I truly am. I want to be fully expressed. I want to express and to extend love to myself and to others, and to just be the love that I am. And even that, it like softens the image. And then, as you say, just opportunities show up where I'll get like a compliment from somebody, as like, and I'm not talking about like, I love your outfit. I would get compliments from people that said, you have such a great smile. You have so much, I mean, there's just so much love. It just like lights up the room. I just noticed that. And to me, that's just like, that's confirmation. It's a reminder, and that's what we can do for each other. That's where it isn't just about us, because we don't have to depend on ourself, because Holy Spirit, the Spirit of love, is working through every single one of us.
Always.
So when we see something or experience something in someone else that is just so helpful or loving or whatever, then when we express it, we're helping them to remember who they are.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And whenever somebody gives me a compliment or says something about me, I remind them, I am simply a mirror. You are seeing yourself. You are seeing, it might be parts of yourself that you haven't fully embraced, that you're not fully aware of. But if you spot it, you got it.
Yep. They wouldn't be able to recognize it in you if they didn't have it in them.
Nope.
Love that.
So it really is, it's an inside job. And it's also like looking for, once we have that openness and that willingness to see differently, to experience ourselves differently, to experience our bodies differently, then the ways to do that will show up. And sometimes it shows up in forms of support, like your program, like the Academy. It's like, I believe that we receive everything that we need, everything that we desire to wake up to who we truly are.
I agree completely. And I loved everything you just said. So such a great example of that when you were in that bathroom with the big mirror and everything you said after that. Oftentimes I get to ask women, what is the greatest source of your suffering? Is it your body or is it your thoughts about your body?
Yeah.
It's always the thoughts. I'm not saying that we don't have some joint pain or whatever here and there, but it's always our own thoughts about our body that are 99% of the suffering that we go through about them. And oftentimes we wish our bodies were different. You can fill in the blank. You can fill in jobs, relationships, but I'm the food body girl. my jam, so I love to talk about. So, but oftentimes we wish our body will be different so that we could be more lovable, so that we could be more loved, so we could be validated, so we could have attention, so we could feel safe. And what you just showed us was, well, first of all, that's not true. Different sized bodies aren't more lovable. Thinner people or heavier people don't have more love. They don't have better relationships. They don't live longer. There's no scientific evidence that one type of body is healthier, more lovable, or loving than another. None. This is a lot of marketing bull that we've been fed. Okay. Anyone is as capable of living a happy life full of love, extending love, being that magnetic. When you extend love, you're that magnetic. You're getting, people are saying, whoa, Cathy, like there's this light that I feel from you. And I'm trying to tell you how great it makes me feel inside. You just kind of lit their flame a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't require any specific size or anything or age to do that.
No.
To be the most beautiful, when I say the most beautiful person in the room, I mean, there's nothing more magnetic and attractive, meaning we attract others by love. It's where people just naturally want to be near love and want to be more loving themselves. So I don't know, I just loved that. So what I saw you do was the reason, so maybe 10 or 20 years ago, you might have looked in that big mirror and said, like, I need to get this changed, or I need to do something different because you thought it would bring you what you've now found you already have once you make that decision. You make the choice to be that now, not to wait for anything to change before you bring yourself everything it is that you want. And then the world just showers you with more of it.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So can we talk more about our true self?
Yes.
Because that's my jam. So
I would love to.
You know the saying, to know me is to love me. So to know your true self is to love yourself. And so what is our true self? So we've already said that it's an expression of it's love. Like it's all love. So what's really helped me is to, in the self-discovery process, is to really discover and identify what what are the ways in which I express and extend love. And it's the things that are right about me that come naturally. But one of the programs that I facilitate, one of the few certified guides for, is Discover Your Sacred Gifts. Your sacred gifts are those expressions of love. They're the things that you do that are extraordinary, and they're always for the purpose of serving others. So identifying, and you don't have to take the program with me to identify them. What you can, if you just look at what's the things that you do in service to others that just come naturally to you, and it energizes you. I mean, it's just like, yeah, I love to do this. And they come in, there's like 25 that we measure in this particular assessment, but there's all kinds of, there's physical expressions. There can be music. You can like serve through music. You might have a gift that way. You might have a gift of for listening and encouraging people. And you just listen for the feedback that you get for people. For example, if you have a gift for listening, I feel so good when I talk to you. Things like that. That is an indication that there is a gift working through you, and that is your true expression. That is your true self. And when I was able to focus on that and take my focus off of thinking that I needed to be good at something else, which is not a gift, it's a skill. We can learn to do just about anything, probably. But the things that are gifts for us, that's an expression of our true self, is just something that just comes naturally to us. And that's what we're getting at, is coming to our natural way of being, our natural weight, the weight that's right for us, the body that's right for us, and just our perfect expression. Excuse me. Yeah.
I love that so much. And I don't know, you maybe at the end you can let people know how they can access that in case anybody's interested in doing it. But I love knowing that we are so, God or universal intelligence or whatever you call it, source, loves us so much that they made our purpose one with which is our greatest joy. Right? Like you said, that thing that we just could do and talk about all day. That's your part in this connected being that we all are, the oneness of humanity. Yeah. That's your part. And
right.
And I love it. It can be quiet. It can be maybe it's being present in meditation. That raises every one of us. So I love how you said there's so many different ones, and wherever it is that you feel the most joy, that's what you're here for.
Mm-hmm.
How loved are we? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Your purpose isn't to do something that is daunting. It doesn't feel like it's in alignment with you, or that the next door neighbor's doing. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So I think that the more that I have come into alignment and am free of those things that were holding me back from just being my true self, my true expression, the less I'm concerned at all about what my body looks like.
Mm-hmm. Or what other people think.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lifelong lesson for me. But yeah, now that I become more and more aware, I realize that they're just thinking, if they think anything about me, it's a reflection of how they're thinking about themselves. And in reality, they're probably not even thinking about me that much. They're just
Right. I know.
with love. Because they're just thinking about themselves. It's all about
So
us.
true.
Yeah.
So, you know, if anybody wants to know how to cultivate more self-love, like what would you tell them? I mean, I think like we've already touched on the fact that it's not something that you ever need to learn. It's just becoming really aware, making the commitment to becoming aware of anything that's unlike love, any thoughts that, you know, it's either love or a call for love. That's all that's ever coming out of any one of us. So it starts with just a great awareness of those voices, those thoughts and beliefs that are unloving. And then you just begin one thought at a time, because that's all we've ever got,
Yeah.
to value those thoughts less, like you did with the mirror, like I have to do every day, like we all do, but it definitely gets easier. And what I've noticed is that I don't stay there for as long. The times that I'm there are shorter and shorter, and there's such contrast. You know, once you even like start to live from that place of extending love, stepping out of it is more uncomfortable than ever than it used to be when that was kind of your normal or my normal. You know, that when that's sort of where I lived most of the time, it didn't seem like a big deal. But now, when you can start to be more loving to yourself, start to choose loving thoughts, when I step out of that, when there's an inner critic whispering or screaming in my ear, it's profoundly obvious, and profoundly obvious where it's coming from, and that it's just a thought. And for me, I simply see it as just a thought and don't give that voice any value. It serves me. I know it serves me no purpose or help at all. It's not even about finding a higher thought, which you can do, but merely offering less, giving less of my attention to that inner meaning. And it eventually dies off of neglect.
True. True. Yeah. And it really helps me to focus on the love in others too. And to notice those thoughts that we're having about others.
So all this thoughts about, like you said, it's all the thoughts you're having about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we offer, only loving thoughts, or when we let go of all of those thoughts that we're having about others, like I was about my husband, I was recognizing, I was like, well, that's weird. And the thing is that the thoughts that I was having and the judgments that I were having were all about stories that I had made up in my head, and they weren't even based on any kind of reality at all. I was talking with my student earlier, and I was telling her how, I noticed that I have entire conversations that go on in my head.
With you and other people?
With me and other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just have we all do that, maybe. I don't know. Hopefully. I'm not the only one. Yeah. I mean, it's like, and then I've started to stop myself going, what the heck? This is nuts.
We're hilarious.
It's literally nuts.
Nuts. Yeah.
So I can just like, okay, that's not based in anything real. The only thing that's real is love. So now I'm willing to just let that go. I don't have any need for it. I just don't want it anymore. I just want love. And that's when we just hold that intention. When we just have that intention, we'll see it.
And it does change the world we live in. I mean, back when I was so self-critical, I was so self-critical of others. I'd walk down the street with, thinking I'm thinking the right thoughts and doing things the right way, but just people, how they should be different and blah, blah, blah. And, it was a couple of years ago that it's like I would walk down the street with my husband and I say, like, wait a minute. When in the world did everybody get so beautiful? Like, I feel like I can sit on a bench downtown Portsmouth, New Hampshire here, and my eyes are filled. I can't even, sometimes I play music and I just sort of, it's like I'm in like this love video, this music video of love.
Yeah.
And it's just really unbelievable what happens. Just our whole view on the world is just so rooted in our view on ourselves. It's like we're all living in this world, but it's almost like we're all living in a different world, depending upon the thoughts we hold the most.
Yeah.
My son ever watches this, I don't think he will, but there was a time when he just thought that police were all corrupt. Policemen were bad. Every day he came to me with a story about a policeman somewhere that did something wrong. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that didn't happen, but it was like he saw this everywhere he went every day. It was just mind-blowing to me that we really do see our world is just based on the thoughts we think a lot, and we actually see what we're looking for, and we can decide to be love and to look for love, like you said, to look for it in other people.
Yeah. Yeah, because when we see it, when we look for it, we can find it.
It's everywhere.
I just became so vigilant about it. I was like a dog with a bone. I was just like, okay, I know it's here. I know it's there. I see what I see, but I know that it's there. Deep within, I know that it's there. People, what I see transforms before my very eyes.
Can you tell me a few changes that in your world since you started to become so vigilant for loving yourself and just loving no matter where you were or what your thoughts were?
Well, some of the things have, like I have less struggle with everything. In all areas, financial, physical, whatever. And it's not that, things might appear to be the same, like things still happen. I still have circumstances that happen. But what has changed is how much it throws me off.
Yeah.
What's changed is my experience of myself and what I see it as. Like you said at the beginning, it's a gift for me. I know that it's showing me where that I still have a lesson in love to learn, or I still need some mind healing. And to me, so I look at everything as a gift, really. Everything is a gift. But I don't there's no very, very few, if any, big deals anymore.
Same.
I
almost pretend things are a big deal sometimes if I'm around people. No, I've seen myself do I should probably pretend I'm really scared and upset about this. And I'm not. I'm not like I used to be, like this whole coronavirus or whatever we're talking about. I'm like,
and I try to, I think I do that maybe because I don't, I can tend to be like,
I don't want to, you don't want to sound insensitive to other people.
There was a time, like a phase that I went through. I think that I maybe was coming off a little insensitive, and I didn't want to be insensitive because I'm not. You know, I really care about people. and I wanted to be compassionate and also patient. You know, as spiritual teachers, as spiritual beings, I think it's really important for us to recognize that everybody has their own experience, and that's okay. And you know, I was guided to practice releasing judgment of everything. And was I on a high horse. I didn't think that I was judgmental. I was so unconditional. I was not judgmental until I was like, okay, I'm going to release judgment of everything. Boy, I started to notice.
Oh.
I was judging. I was judging people. I mean, just like, it was amazing what I was realizing. So I just let go of all of that.
It's so funny when we start to do this work, Chris, you're like, oh my God, she's so judgmental. Like, you just judged her.
Yeah, I know.
You're judging the judger.
Yeah. So, right. So coronavirus, I mean, some pretty serious stuff in the terms of the world.
Yeah.
That goes on. I see beyond it. And it allows me to see more of the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Not that I can see all of it, but there is an awareness within me that has expanded so that I can see different aspects of what's going on. So it's not so like black and white, this is right and this is wrong and all of that. And just like acceptance and loving what is. My home, at one time before I started really doing this work, was literally a war zone. I mean, it was bad. There was so much fighting and all of that. Now it is a place of peace. It's respite. There's so much love. My kids come, everybody comes, and they just feel so welcomed and so loved. And that was my intention. That transformed considerably.
I love that. And I'm not for 1 second surprised. If there are some situations in the world or in my home that I am being called to show up to help, I just really make sure I'm not helping out of fear. Or from a place of fear, that I'm helping from a place of love. Takes a lot of, at least it took a lot of me getting my act together before I opened my mouth. And just making sure love was what was guiding me. But yeah. Okay, so we're almost out of time. So if you could give one mic drop statement to somebody who wanted to, one practice or one anything, what first thing that comes to your mind and your heart, to someone who really wants to learn to radically and unconditionally love and accept themselves more, which, by the way, everybody, this is not a conceited or anything behavior, because once you fill your own cup with love, it literally runneth over, like you've so beautifully displayed, Cathy, to the people and the situations around you. So this is the greatest thing you can do for your family, for your friends, for the whole of all of us. So if you could give a little practice or just a thought that somebody could have who wants to lean more into self-love and acceptance, what would you say? I can tell mine first if you want to think.
No, actually, it came to mind, and it's really kind of interesting, because the practice is, if you want to gain more self-love and acceptance, is to extend love and love unconditionally, love others unconditionally. Recognize where you are holding judgment
That was mine. No, just, that's because it's so good. Yeah, but no, go ahead. Keep
so
going.
in sync. We're so in sync. Yeah, just to recognize where that, to recognize where you're holding judgment and just release it all. That's the key. That's pure love. Just loving purely and the best that you can, and being honest. Just loving others is all you're doing, because you are being the love that you are, and eventually you do that, and you're doing it out of love. Like you said, it's not doing it to, like, conditional love. Special love is doing something to get something.
Yeah.
So it's loving from the generosity of your heart, not expecting anything in return, not expecting anybody to change at all. Just loving what is as it is, loving everyone as they are. And the more that you do that, the more you realize, the more you're just being your true self. You're just being love, and you're doing what love does naturally.
Mic drop.
I was feeling a little pressure there for a minute when you asked me to do a mic drop. I'm like, oh, wow, it's got to be big. It's so funny that we would be thinking of the same thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, because just for me, anyone who walked before me, it could have been on the television set, it could have been in my home, it could have been out in public. I could find out where I located myself, who I believed I was, and how I spoke to myself by the way I spoke in my head to these other people. You know, anyone that needed to change in order to be worthy of my love, was a huge message. I knew I was thinking that I needed to change in order to be worthy of my love. You know, anyone that I was just trying to correct or fix or control, because I thought there was a right way to be and a wrong way to be, or one way to be, or just all my own crud, I just vomit onto the world. And so every person showed up as such a great teacher for me to show me how I was speaking to myself. And like you said, you can see that you're doing that with them and decide to love them right where they are instead. And you're actually doing it for the both of you. You're actually doing it for the two of you. It's happening in you too. It's you're reprogramming, like unbrainwashing yourself from that inner critic at the same time. And you get so many opportunities to do it. And it's such a great way to walk this planet. So that's mine, which is just like yours. Same thing. Thank you, Cathy. Can you tell people how to, you mentioned a program that you do for discovering your purpose?
And your Discovering Sacred Gifts is one of the programs that I facilitate, along with several programs through pathwaysoflight.org. But you can go to my website, cathysilva.org, Cathy with a C. And there's a few things there. There's actually a way for you to reach out and contact me, or you can send an email to revcathysilva@gmail.com and just give me an idea of what you're looking for, what you'd like to do, maybe what you're interested in, and we'll just get together and chat and see what comes up. But yeah, I love what I do, man. I'm like you. It just jazzes me to be able to offer ways for us to just return to our true self and our natural way of being and loving.
You know, I got to say, anyone out there who chooses to work with you, Cathy, be so lucky to be in your presence. I've gotten to know you more and more, and I know you just walk this walk. It seeps out of you, and everything that you do, and the things that I've done with you together through TOG, or through like you love yourself, or the times that we've just talked personally. You are true love in this world. You are a true healer. I can't thank you enough for what you bring to this community, into this whole world, the work that you do. I'm just so blessed and honored to know you. And I thank you for being here. I'm Linda Leland again. As far as if anyone out there wants to work with the self-love in their body and healing their relationship with food in their body, you can check out andthensheshines.com or the Eat Like You Love Yourself Academy, which is also in andthensheshines.com. Thank you, Cathy. Until we meet again, I could talk to you for 5 more hours. I think I say that to you every time. I literally could just go make another cup of tea and keep going with this conversation. You're such a joy. You have such wisdom and just a peaceful presence that I love. So
thank you, Linda. Ditto, girlfriend. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for inviting me to come and chat.
It's going to happen again. Get ready.
Okay. I'm ready.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. I love you.